Welcome to Focus Today. I'm your host, Perry Atkinson, and I really consider it an honor when we get to sit down with one of the men who never sleeps. This is what sleepless in NRB looks like right here. And that is President Troy Miller from the NRB. And before he took over, he had a whole head of hair there. Hey, good to see you, Troy. Thanks for your time. I know you're really, really busy. I got to settle a couple of Southern questions. Have you had waffles with chicken on it?
I have not, but it's one of my wife's favorite dishes.
Does she put syrup on the chicken?
She does. She does. Okay. Syrup on the chicken.
Okay, and then the other one is, have you ever had a banana split on a waffle?
No.
Okay.
No. No.
Okay, then thanks. I thought maybe I had lost my mind, but I needed to check for somebody from the South. Good to see you. Well, Troy, this past couple of weeks has been quite an adjustment for all of us because we've lost some of the giants of the faith and the impact that they've had on the NRB. John MacArthur just passed this last week, Dr. James Dobson. I mean, these are some of the guys that really have created what the NRB was meant to be, and I know that that's very moving for everybody. I don't know how you would maybe summarize their impact, but let's start with Pastor John MacArthur. I understand, I viewed his service over the weekend, and I think 18,000 people tuned into that thing. It was pretty moving. What's your thoughts?
Well, which is a huge indication of the legacy that he left. I actually attended the service over the weekend, and it was just an incredible honor to a man whose life was well lived, and it lived the life not only that he had in the pulpit, but he lived that life as we heard the stories from his children and those who were closest to him. That's the life he lived out in person as well. Look, Dr. MacArthur, his legacy, I think 100 years from now, should the Lord tarry, there will be pastors and preachers and students of the Bible that will still be opening and reading his commentaries and his views and his explanations of scriptures down the road. His impact has just been incredible, particularly, Perry, in the pulpits of this country.
Yeah, the impact has been significant. Now, early on, this would have been back in the late 70s, early 70s. This is when I think he went to radio and really created quite a legacy there.
That's right. He was one of the early pioneers. There were several of them. He and Dr. Kennedy and Charles Stanley, just a number of those who understood the power of media. And at the time, radio was a dominant medium, and they launched radio programs and television programs, Grace to You Radio, Grace to You TV, and expanded their reach to millions of people around the world. And that's just really the legacy that a lot of Christian communicators are built on today. They're built on the shoulders of giants like Dr. MacArthur and Dr. Dobson as well.
Dr. Dobson passed late last week. This is another remarkable person. By the way, there's a little bit of a Southern Oregon story about Dr. Dobson. I don't know if you're aware of this, but he came out here to raft the Rogue River. So if you ever come out here, Troy, we're putting you on the road. We're going to take you fishing, but we'll put you on the Rogue River. But he was going down through the place called the Wild and Scenic of the Rogue River, and there was one particular spot, they call it Coffee Pot. And they told him and his guides that when you go through there, how to navigate this piece of water. Well, sure enough, they capsized, and he went down, and they didn't see him. They thought he was gone. And he popped up downriver. And so on the many occasions that I was with Dr. Dobson, he would put his finger to my chest and say, "You're from that area that almost took my life." But and he was quite the adventurous, but he was outside. But focus on the family. I can say this, that we proud to carry that program from 1983 all the way up through today, and including his show with Family Talk.
Yeah, here's another just incredible legacy. God calls Dr. Dobson to be, I think for a while, maybe he was America's personal counselor. His teachings and his books and his communications, they really shaped at least my generation, I think for sure, the X generation, into even the younger baby boomers. I don't know of anybody in the Christian community probably could look at their shelf, and I think there's even some on the shelf behind us, of a Dr. Dobson book. You either have a strong-willed child, or raising boys, or raising girls, or a book on marriage, how to make your marriage better. And he, I think, more than anybody on the media, really pioneered what it meant to live your Christian life out in the public sector.
So back to the whole point of Christian media. Both these gentlemen saw in the early days the potential of being on the airways, radio, television, and advanced with it through their career. I mean, this is a testament of what we do as an organization that you lead, of the power of Christian media that really took these gentlemen's message and their callings and giftings and made them, made them available to every American in the country.
And in the process, I think really reshaped a culture. They were pioneers of understanding the use of mass media beyond their normal influence, the normal walls that they might be contained within. And not only, as you said, radio, then they adapted television. Later in their ministries, both of them have very vibrant digital ministries going on. And so they're still shaping, minds and opinions and today. And that is the legacy of Christian media. These two pioneers really lived out their lives that way. And here's the other thing I'll say, Perry. I've had a chance to meet both of them and know both of them. Neither of them were using ministries for fame. They weren't looking for any celebrity status. They really, truly, at their hearts, wanted to reach people with the truth and the transforming message of the gospel.
To that point, Dr. Dobson never wavered from family and parenting issues, and Dr. John MacArthur never wavered from the emphasis of true biblical teaching.
That's exactly right. They to the last breath of their ministries, both of them stayed firm in their convictions of where God has called them. Dr. MacArthur was just amazing in his expository preaching and writing, just the way he was able to open up the scriptures and the doctrines to help us understand our lives. And then you take Dr. Dobson, he took those same things and helped us apply them to our everyday living, especially the family, and look at the legacy today. The family is the foundation of society. And if the family can get put back together, then society will be put together.
No question about that. So, I know that you've been in this a long time, so have I. You see this where you see these giants go to heaven. And isn't it amazing that it's a matter of time that that part of the gospel message is picked up by new communicators? God raises up some new ones. So do you see that coming down the road?
Yeah, absolutely. Somebody said the phrase at one time, God calls the messengers home, but the message goes on. And so God raises up new leaders, and he raises up new voices. And I'm excited, Perry, about today. I think there are some great young voices that God is really raising up in this culture, voices that are picking up these mantles, picking up these standards, and bearing the flag of both doctrine and theology, and really a deep sort of hunger for God's word, as well as the cultural issues that we're dealing with today, both the family issues and, of course, all of the different issues that are going on with sexuality and with racism and other things in the culture. So we're seeing some young pastors today that I'm really excited about.
Good. All right, so give us an NRV update. You're on the front edge there, the cutting edge. There's so many things going on. Those of us who behind the scenes here battle so many issues. But there's some good things happening. We're seeing some changes at the commission we're pretty happy about. I know that the NRB has fought for its existence from day one. What's your take today?
Yeah, first of all, let me just echo that. The work at the FCC now has been very encouraging. Chairman Carr has done an outstanding job, and what a difference it does. It makes, Perry, when you have somebody in leadership who's not trying to push an ideology, but rather, or a political agenda, but rather has a man with a strong business background, understands what it means to run an organization, understands the things to the industry. And I've had a number of conversations with him, Perry. He understands also, especially how hard it is for smaller independent broadcasters. So we're so excited, the deregulations that they're working on there. But also, Perry, let me mention this. The whole administration that's been in place really echoes that same kind of mentality, just that common sense, practical mentality that understands their job is to make it easier for people and organizations and businesses to do things, not to make it harder, not to put more burdens on it. And one more point, Perry, the number of Christian leaders that are in key positions today, or leaders who are Christians, is incredible with this administration. So a lot of good things that are going on there.
That's wonderful. A couple of things, and just kind of get your thoughts on, what is the NRB's position on the I guess the drafting of lifting the restrictions on how many stations conglomerates can own?
So it's a little bit mixed here, Perry, with this, and we're going to wait and see how these rules come out. But look, the market has clearly changed today. You have broadcasters who, in some sense, have their arms tied behind their back as they're competing with digital platforms that are nationwide, that have no restrictions. It can be in every market and every community. Right. So in that sense, we see that there should be a fairness there on the competition side. If the digital guys are doing this, then the broadcasters may need to do this in order to compete. On the other side, I really hope that this opens up opportunities for Christian broadcasters and doesn't limit them. I would hate to see Christian broadcasters look at this as an opportunity to sell off their licenses and stations and get out of the business to some of these national broadcaster platforms. I hope it opens up that more people look at this opportunity and say, hey, I want to get into Christian broadcasting.
Good. You've also been a strong advocate for AM radio to stay in business. Give us an update.
Yeah, so we're hoping when Congress comes out of their recess here in another couple of weeks, that this is going to be on the top of their platform. We're over 270 co-sponsors from across the aisle. The bill's already been out of committee on the Senate side. They're just waiting for movement on the House. So we're working very hard with House leadership and the committee leadership to get this bill in this round of markups in September. We don't want it to slip into 2026.
The primary pushback on this is automakers.
Automakers are the number one pushback, but here's the interesting thing. The pushback was because the AM radio was going to interfere in electric vehicles. Mm-hmm. And of course, we know the electric vehicle mandate is nowhere near where it was under the Biden administration, and electric vehicle sales are down. They're not the future. Gas-powered or hybrids are the future. So this really is about automakers not pushing this so much about technology in their vehicles, but control of the information in the car. And we think their big push has really revealed that. But again, Perry, we have broad bipartisan support. We just need to get it pushed through the leadership.
And let me just add here, folks, that a lot of our colleagues in Christian broadcasting still operate very successfully AM radio stations, and we need to protect them.
80 million Americans tune into AM radio. 80 million Americans.
Okay, that's a great number. All right, let me take a quick break. Check out Troy's website, nrb.org. By the way, while you're there, check out their conference coming up in February. It's the must attend, and we'll talk about that when we come back. Okay, welcome back. Always an honor when we get to sit down with Troy Miller. He's the CEO of the National Religious Broadcasters. This is probably the champion of all things that we consider important. That's what the NRB does for us Christian broadcasters. And thank you, Troy, for you and your team. You guys, by the way, you've added some quality people there. I've been reading that, watching that. You got a strong force out there, buddy.
Well, God has been very, very good to us, Perry, yes.
Yeah, it's really, really good. I want to ask your opinion on, as you know, funding's being pulled from NPR, public broadcasting and all that, and it's very controversial. And I think it was Senator Kennedy that asked the question, do you want our tax dollars going to pay for CNN? Do you want your tax dollars going to pay for Fox and like that? The big no. And then why should it be going for public radio or public television? And apparently this is sending shockwaves and things are happening. It looks like even NPR may be pulling the plug. I don't know. We'll see how that goes. But one of the things that come out of this, is it possible down the road that when public broadcasting is been put on the same platform as all other non-commercial broadcasters, that could possibly change the FCC's ruling on non-com frequencies?
You mean having them available, Perry? Changing that ruling? Or?
Well, what I'm thinking is if there is no other reason to have a non-commercial frequency, in other words, the only way these stations are going to be able to survive is to sell ads. And could that change? Say on the FM dial, 92 and below is all NCE. So could that change? I mean, what would be the reason having NCE channels if nobody could compete on that level anymore?
I think, you know, we're having some of those discussions now, Perry. I think you might see some loosening of those rules or loosening of those kind of regulations, but I don't think they're going to change totally. I don't think they're going to just do away with non-commercial. You know, from the minute that the original Radio Authorization Act was put together way back in the 1920s, Congress recognized the need for what they called public interest programming.
Right.
And they also recognize the need, Perry, that, you know, the business world and the commercial world wasn't always going to step up to the plate to do that. So a lot of these regulations came in place for that very reason. And let me just comment quickly on the NPR thing and PBS thing. You know, the stations themselves, I think they have always, you know, survived on both local sponsorships, national sponsorships, and viewer funding, very similar to what most non-coms do. The area that they really had the advantage in was the Corporation for Public Broadcasting that got all of this money from Congress, and then it was their job to distribute it. They focused on, you know, these public broadcasting stations, both radio and television, and it was impossible for people like you or other non-commercials to get that kind of funding. And that funding funded infrastructure and programming.
Right.
So I don't think NPR or PBS are going away, but they are going to play now on a level playing field with all the rest of us.
That's well explained. Thank you. The other thing that we're looking at as television broadcasters is a whole issue of technology dealing with 3.0. Can you give us an update on that?
Yeah, so there are. So this new standard of broadcasting television, the television signal is for laymen is going from a 1.0 to a 3.0, which allows broadcasters to do a number of things to compete in the digital world. So this is moving forward. We do think that the FCC is probably going to loosen requirements of whether you have to have a 1.0 and a 3.0 simultaneously, and may even allow at some point for broadcasters to stay at 1.0 and others to go to 3.0. But there's a lot to be worked out there yet.
Okay. I think that's the main thing because they were one of the rules was, or I say one of the rules, one of the suggestion was you'd have to run a 1.0 and a 3.0 simultaneously for a period of time. Well, we just went through that when you went from analog to digital, and a lot of broadcasters went out of business.
That's right. It's very cost prohibitive.
Yeah. Oh, good. All right, tell us about the conference coming up. It's the biggie, and you can't register too early.
That's right. You can't register too early.
Yeah.
Here, look, this is the largest gathering of Christian communicators that happens anywhere in the world. It'll be in Nashville, Tennessee next year at the Gaylord Opryland Hotel, February 17th through the 20th. We'll have an exhibit floor of over 60,000 square feet, probably over 270 plus exhibitors out there from every aspect of this communications industry. Plus, we'll have sessions going on. So if you're in Christian communications, first of all, you should be there, whether you're a radio or television broadcaster or program producer, podcaster, blogger, book publisher, author, you should be there. We'll also have sessions that will help the average person be a better communicator on their social media. Perry, everybody today is a Christian communicator if you're a Christian, because if you're on social media, you're influencing probably more people than the average size of a church today across this country.
And why should people who have a media department in their church attend?
Well, look, we're going to tell you the latest technologies that are going to go on. We're going to talk about trends. We're going to talk about that big issue of artificial intelligence, how it's going to affect your church media, your church ministry. And then we're also going to talk about, just as on our advocacy side, all the roadblocks and issues that are ahead of you and the things that are changing that as a Christian communicator you should know, especially in church media.
All right. Well, I just want to say again, thank you for you and the NRB for what you guys are doing. I don't know if you can maybe for a couple of seconds, do you have your head around the digital world?
Well, I sort of do, Perry. My background, 11 years in Silicon Valley, the digital world. But look, I've been to 3 major events this year: the National Association of Broadcasters, the Independent Cable Show folks, and the streaming show. Nobody has their head around digital right now, Perry. Everybody's trying to figure out where this is going to land, especially as it relates to video and television. But we're working hard with all of those industries to do this. We had some great meetings with the small cable people that are very promising to keep independent Christian broadcasters on their platforms when they go to streaming.
Okay, that was my next thing, because we got to get with the change of the landscape, especially in the satellite world, the cable world, and people, and now the pie's been split so many ways. Can we broadcasters who may are not all full power, maybe low power, get access to the satellites?
Yeah, absolutely. And look, one of the things I think, Perry, we talked about last time I was on here was our Barna report. And we delivered that to the small independent cable operators, and it really woke them up about, wow, two-thirds of the country, 60% of the country tunes into Christian media, to about how large the audience really is. And that's opened up the door, Perry, to negotiations with these groups. And that's the key, Perry. We need to be communicating with the industry, something we haven't done in the past, and we're doing that today.
Wonderful. Thank you, friend. I know you're busy. Look forward to seeing you again soon, and certainly at the convention. Thanks for all you do, and hats off to you and your team. You got the best in the world, buddy.
Thanks, Perry. Keep up the good work out there in Oregon. Bye.